I'm going to call to order a regular meeting of the Wellington Board of Selectmen, Monday, August 2nd at 6:30 p.m. I will note that this meeting is hybrid, so there are people in the room and via Zoom, and Selectman Boretz is joining us via Zoom. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will all stand and join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And over here, you'll see we got a new flag for upstairs. We did get an additional one for downstairs. So we will retire the very faded flag that was in this room. Thank Phil Monty, who just checked to make sure we had put the flag up correctly, that all was important. So it's nice. And the next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. You should have minutes from our July 19th meeting in your packet. I want to thank Cheryl Mitchell. Let's see with us once again. For minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of July 19th.
Motion by John, is there a second? Seconded by Lynn.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Wachensky,
Aye.
Boretz,
Aye.
Lessington.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, present to speak. If you're in the room or joining us via Zoom and would like to speak, I ask you to state your name for the record and limit yourself to 2 minutes. Is there anyone in the room? I will ask first in the room that wants to speak. Seeing no takers, anyone via Zoom, you should have the ability to unmute yourself. If you don't wish to speak now, there'll be an opportunity to speak later at the end of the meeting. Correspondence. I shared with you one correspondence from the town clerk. Your packets. That later in the meeting.
And also the fact, we did have a letter to Doug Roberts. Found one in my packet, or not the packet. April, first letter was February, next letter was
Was your 2020?
yes, no, 2020.
2020.
You're right. I noticed that. Okay.
Those are from some
I'm
time
not
ago.
sure why I got that now.
Is it possible you just got things that have been collecting in your box here in
Don't
the
think
town?
it was in there.
Huh, maybe it was shoved down to the bottom, so, okay, all right. Status report. I have no new updates on either the SEEP grant or the LoCIP grant. The school building committee will meet this Wednesday, the 4th, and that will be a hybrid meeting, so here in this room and via Zoom as well. So you can check our website for the Zoom link. As far as COVID updates, it will tell you that currently we are showing as of July 29th, 54.11% fully vaccinated, and those are of the eligible to be vaccinated. And COVID cases, we have a cumulative 265. So since our last report, 5 positive cases. I can share with you now a breakdown by age. So the 12 to 15-year-old range is 43.03% fully vaccinated. 16 to 44 is 43.08% fully vaccinated. The 45 to 64-year-old is 61.72% vaccinated, and the state shows our 65 and above population at 100% vaccinated. I'm still encouraging anyone to consider receiving the vaccine. In addition, and Liza, I apologize, I have lots of papers here for you. Can you be joining us in person? And one of them that you should have received in an email that went out to all staff, we've shared on our social media and going onto our website, a memo that I put out late this afternoon that effective tomorrow, we will be reinstituting a face mask requirement for all employees and visitors within our town buildings, regardless of vaccination status. So starting tomorrow, I have chosen to wear a mask now, which is why you see me wearing one now. So our staff will be wearing masks when they're in public spaces or when there are 2 or more of them in their office space. So if you come in and you see a staff member not wearing a mask, but they're behind a door or the plexiglass of their office, it's because no one else is within that space. But as soon as they are in a public space, they would have to wear a mask.
This does bring into question the efficiency of the vaccinations. We've been going back and forth with all this. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, and now you have to wear a mask even if you're vaccinated. But this is all to do with science. It's just the science keeps switching back and forth. That we should be doing this, but I guess it's your call.
Liza, any comments?
Well, having just, I apologize for not being there in person. One of the reasons is because I was on vacation and I'm suffering from vacation brain and have no idea what day it is. But having just spent a week with my brother, who is an infectious diseases specialist, I can tell you that he is very concerned about the Delta variant. The mask mandate is not necessarily to protect those who are vaccinated as much as it is to protect those who are unvaccinated, since we still do have such a large percentage of our population unvaccinated, and the Delta variant is able to be contracted and shed by vaccinated individuals. This is more so in protection of those who have chosen not to get vaccinated or who can't get vaccinated for whatever reason. So I think it's very important that we follow the CDC guidelines, which are saying this is an important step for us to take with this new evolution of the virus coming in, and the vaccines aren't as they're effective in the Delta variant, but they're not as effective as they were in the original strain. So I think it's a very important step. And I can tell you that watching the numbers, they're increasing dramatically, especially among non-vaxxed individuals. So I think this is an excellent and an important step.
I'll also note that I think we know science changes. That is the nature of science. This isn't a one fix for all. I wear my mask, not mostly for others, not myself. So I certainly can carry the virus without showing symptoms, as I have chosen to be vaccinated, but I don't know the vaccination status of everyone around me. So we take the guidance from the CDC, from the Connecticut Department of Health, and our local health district, and the recommendation from all 3 of those is universal masking indoors. And we have had employees who have chosen to wear masks. We have had visitors who have chosen to wear masks regardless of their vaccination status prior to this. So I hope that this is just a bump in the road. And we can hopefully fight this, but the Delta variant is incredibly contagious. So
Just to remark on the science, I'm getting a little bit tired. We're told, well, we do everything by science because we have to go by facts. Science is facts. Therefore, this is what we're going to do until next week when, oh, well, the science has changed. And this week it's this, and then next week it'll be something else. So anyway, that's just my opinion on that.
Correct. That's your opinion. And I'm choosing to listen to those who are infectious diseases specialists who have studied this, this virus since even before it made its way over to the United States. So those are the individuals I'm choosing to listen to and the suggestions I'm choosing to follow.
Great. All right, my last update is on the vacancies that we have. I'm happy to say we have made an offer to a Parks and Rec director. I'm awaiting the signed letter, but hopefully upon that arrival, we will have that individual beginning in 2 weeks. Assistant assessor interviews began last week, and we're looking at a second round this week. We only had one application for the assistant land use agent. So after speaking with Mike D'Amato, we are going to continue to post that position in different areas in hopes of getting a qualified candidate. And then that leaves us with the assistant, admin assistant to the Selectmen's office. And so I'll be sending a communication to both of you, looking to see when we can look at interviews. We received 4 applications. One individual was internal and has chosen to withdraw their name for personal reasons. So I'll be sending those to you, and we'll look to see where we move forward with that. All right, any comments on my? Okay. Move on to Public Works. Troy is here in the room with us. So Troy, I'll let you start.
All right. Storm cleanup is still going on around town. Most roads, we have filled the edges with either stone or gravel. Some spots we have to go back and fill it with some asphalt and cut it out. We had a contractor that did some paving for us on Liska Road, Schofield Road, and Deerfield School Road. That is complete. Cowles Road will be done either this week or next week. The trash at the park, we still pick up on Mondays and Thursdays. Sweeping around town, we've done. Unfortunately, the sweeper broke. We're putting new brakes on it. As we speak, we're just waiting for drums. So hopefully that will be fixed this week. Tree removal is still going on. Linden Tree Service, they're out cutting the ash trees down. We mowed at Public Works, transfer station, and some sight lines today. We've graded most of the dirt roads, but now we have to go back and put some process and actually smooth them up. The swap shed is open. It was cleaned out. I know there was some confusion there. We had to shut it down to a staffing usage there, but it is open. We asked residents if they can bring stuff that's kind of reusable instead of, there was some junk in there that's, maybe it's not junk to somebody. Just, you know, the old dog bed, you know, it doesn't need to be used. It can be thrown away in the bulky. That's about it really. And then the trees.
That's, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk
later.
about that, yeah.
And then the last one.
Oh, and the new Public Works vehicles that were on CIP, they're expected to be delivered in mid-November to early December. That's if everything goes right.
So like everything else, the
Everything
supply chain
else.
is affected.
Yeah.
And so Troy spoke about the swap shed in our transfer station operator manual. It speaks about accepting items that are reusable and clean, and nothing including fabric or other materials that may decay, I apologize, or draw rodents, etc. So just reminding residents what they can and cannot bring. I know my office has received questions. Troy has received phone calls asking about volunteers at the swap shed. I know other towns utilize that model where they have volunteers that monitor, so they take things in and monitor when people are looking through. And so, you know, Troy and I are going to talk about that and look at that and potentially bring something like that to us. And it could be a case where if we didn't have volunteers, then we couldn't open the swap shed. But it allows for a little, maybe a little bit more control over what's being left and how it's being maintained. And so if we have some volunteers who are willing to help with that, let's investigate that option. So it's great for residents who might not have resources to obtain other things. So, you know, one man's junk is another man's treasure. And we'd like to be able to continue to recycle and reuse those things. But it does get a little bit of control, and it almost becomes a dumping ground for things. So items like air conditioners that people don't, they don't work or don't want to pay the fee for, they'll leave at the swap shed. And we just don't have the manpower to leave someone at the swap shed all day, every day.
I like the idea of the volunteers because that would make things easier, but I'm not too happy about the idea that if we don't have a volunteer, we're gonna shut it down. Even for that week. I have my old story about the swap shed some years ago. I was in the market for a toaster oven. And I went in there, whoa, brand new toaster oven. So I took it home and I plugged it in, burst into flames. So, well, I put the fire out. Next week I took it back. I think this time it went in the trash. And that happens because, you know, people have this, something that's very nice. I paid a lot of money for it. I don't need it anymore. So I want to put it in there. And sometimes, like you said, it might be a very nice dog bed that the dog's been sleeping on for 10 years. And you may not want it, but they paid a lot of money for it at the time. So sometimes you just have to put up with stuff like that.
Well, that goes against our policy, which is, again, in that operating manual, it says nothing with fabric. So
Well,
would deter from.
I understand that. I'm looking at it from the perspective of the person who has the dog bed. Sometimes you just gotta go and pull it out, throw it in the trash after they leave.
All right, so we're just talking about that and volunteers, and it's nice that folks want to, you know, find a way to help. I think that's great. So if we can find a way to utilize that model, I say let's go for it. So at least start the talks. Any other comments about public works? All right, and I know they're working hard. We again have a small crew, and these guys are trying to take a little bit of vacation while the weather cooperates between storms and ever popular winter. So they're getting it done slowly but surely. All right, so the first item on new business is emerald ash borer tree mitigation. So as you both may recall, we had a letter from a resident that you should have copies of. And in that, this resident certainly gives his suggested action plan. And then if you recall, during budget season, Troy came to us and spoke specifically about this, asking for additional funds. There was discussion both at this board, by members of this board, and at Board of Finance about cutting even more into the tree budget. So we gave an additional $25,000 for trees, and at about $1,400 a day from our contractor. That won't go too far. So Troy, you want to talk to us a little bit about the emerald ash borer situation?
All right, so I've talked to some local arborists besides just who we have, Linden Tree Service. You know, I give you some numbers of people. They're basically recommending that if there's an ash tree, be proactive and remove the tree. Even if you think it's healthy, a lot of these trees are diseased and you can't see it until you peel the bark off or the leaves start to fall off the tree. It takes about 9 months before, once that tree is infected, before it'll be on the ground. Basically, it's considered unsafe. Treatment for the trees, it's about a 50-50 shot. It only can be done in early spring when the tree is starting to bud, when it's called flowering. And that's when they put the chemical on the tree. There's a 50% chance that the tree will survive, even be injected. It's about $400 per tree. So if somebody had one in their yard and it was the only ash tree and they were afraid, it might be worth something to do. If there's a bunch of them, it's not really, they're saying it's not really worth to go and, you know, doctor these trees up. Trees cost between $800 and $1,000 to cut down, depending on location wise. The arborists are looking, I know it's money in their pocket, but they're making it safe for everybody. And they highly recommend removing, you know, the trees. Even if there's a good tree next to an infected tree, it's most likely it's going to be infected within a certain amount of time. That's basically kind of.
So I'm hearing you say we're past the time this year where we could treat any of the trees.
Any of the trees.
So how many trees that are on town property would you guesstimate are infected?
I mean, couple hundred, 300-400, depends on where they are and what location. Sometimes they're clustered like we just on Daleville School, we just removed about 15 ash trees all in a row, and then there wasn't anything else for a little ways. So they grow in clusters more or less. That's to count every single tree out there, every ash tree. I haven't done that
So
yet.
your tree budget of 75,000,
No, it's at
it's
50,000,
at 50, it was 25.
and I spent 24,000 of it so far. So I have 25,000 or 26,000 more.
And how much of that budget, so you've already used the extra that you were given. Did that take down trees other than ash trees?
Yeah, there was, when they were doing some trees, there was some dead oak trees, when they were on that road, basically we're going road by road, the most effect, the hit, areas that got hit the hardest. That's where we're in there. I know on Mason Road, John, there's like almost 30 trees that need to come down.
I know, well, I just want to thank you for a couple of those ash trees on Daleville School that were making me really nervous because they were humongous.
Yeah.
And now they're all cut up and nice in the woods, so I'm very pleased about that. I know Mason Road, that down the far end.
It is, yeah.
There's some really big ones there too.
Yep.
Now, there's a few trees that, there's at least one on Mason Road that's probably 50 feet off the road, but it's probably 70 feet high. It's another big one, so
Yeah.
about all we can do on that is wait till it lands on the road, then we'll take away the.
They'll take it away. Yep.
Or hope that the homeowner recognizes that at some point, the trees on their property are their responsibility as
Well-
well. So we can't, I know in this letter from the resident, one of the mitigation was to, in his words, create a waiver system for town and residents, allowing the town to remove trees that may be on residential property.
That's-
Well, that would be really expensive, but on the other hand, it would be really expensive for the homeowner. This one I'm talking about, there's probably 3 or 4 ash trees within range of the road. That could get pretty expensive for the homeowner too.
Of course it could, but listen, Troy came to us. He's the expert in these things that we've hired. And when he came to us during budget season, John, I believe you didn't see the need for this additional money a couple of times. And now that they're affected on, your road, you're grateful that he's taking them down. He came to us and we have to believe him at some point
Okay.
that they need to come down. And so if we can't afford to take down all of the town's trees, which we need to do, we need to find a way to do, we need to find the funds. How can we then continue to take them down on private property?
Well, I'm just saying that for the person who owns the property, that could be a very onerous task for them to go in and maybe pay $10,000 to take trees down on their property. And I'm not suggesting we do it, but something's gonna have to happen. I think what I said will be that if the tree falls away from the road, that's the homeowner's property. If the tree falls toward the road, then we're gonna have to do something.
And usually it happens on a day that, a Saturday or Sunday, so you're paying overtime for it, or it happens in the middle of the night, and that's, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
So, Liza, do you have any comments before I continue?
I feel like a broken record because I say this all the time, but we are underfunding almost every department in our town. And this is another one of those situations where it becomes a crisis and then more expensive afterwards because we hadn't taken the steps beforehand to remedy the situation when it was manageable. Meaning that our budgets have not supported the proper maintenance of trees, clearly have not supported the proper maintenance of roads. We saw that in the last bout of flash flooding a couple of weeks ago. We are not able to manage our basic infrastructure on a daily basis so that we're just Band-Aids and responding to emergencies. And I don't know exactly how we get to the point where we're not always playing catch up, but at some point somebody is going to have to approve the spending of a significant chunk of change to get to the point where we are not always responding to emergencies. And this is yet another example. We, didn't fund fully the initial ask, and now we're suffering the consequences. For the last several years, we didn't fund fully the ask to pave roads, and we had roads wash out, both paved and unpaved. We have to decide what kind of community we're going to be. Are we always going to play catch up, or are we going to at some point get ahead of our infrastructure issues and dedicate the money that we need to as a town? Either way is expensive, but they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's usually less expensive to prevent these issues from happening than wait for a storm and have all of these trees come down where we're then in an emergency situation and paying prime dollar for the removal of these trees. So I don't have a solution other than when it comes time for us to be making these decisions, we have to remember this exact moment, because this is the problem. We forget these moments when we are in budget discussions, and then we're a month and a half later and we're again in a situation where we've realized we didn't allocate the amount of funds that we really needed in order to maintain the health and safety of our community.
So, Troy, I know you prioritize the most significant areas, the most significantly damaged trees, and that's where you're having contractors work. If we were to take down all of the ash trees, right, we don't know that they're all infected. I heard you say we would know if we scraped bark off of them. If we do that, are we causing more damage to the tree to identify it?
Yes, because you're peeling the bark off the tree to get it. It's not just like scraping it, put it in a petri dish.
Right.
You're peeling the bark to see if the bug is in there. So
When we're discussing it in the budget, okay, I recognized that we had a problem with ash trees. I didn't realize the extent of the problem. We have a blight going wrong, or the beetle going wrong with ash trees, and lose a tree here or a tree there. It looks like we're going to lose probably almost all, if not all, of the ash trees, but it's just spreading.
it's spreading.
You can pretty much tell if you see the tree and the outside of it is turning yellow.
Yeah, it's called blonding.
Yeah, and you see them all over town. So, okay, we have to plan ahead, but how do we plan ahead for this? Now, I would point out there's another blight going around that's affecting maple trees. So far, it's not affecting every maple tree, or even a lot of maple trees, but I know I paid $1,500 last year to have one down on my land because it got this blight, and I hope we don't get any more, but so we can only watch and wait, and if it happens, then we'll have to find the money, as I think we're gonna have to do in here. When we run out of that, we're gonna have to go back to the Board of Finance, say, we still got trees to come down. That's what we're gonna have to do. I wouldn't want to take down every maple tree in town.
No. No.
No, but again, in the winter, when we were sitting at budget season, Troy was very clear with us that this was going to be a significant concern. And I think we need to listen to those that we hire that have the knowledge that we don't, we depend on their information. So listen, you have in front of you some of the specific suggestions from a resident. I know we do work with Eversource to cut trees down, and they have been in town in various areas. So they are cutting trees that are concerned around power lines. So, and it's not an option to right now fund or treat them. So if we wanted to try and treat, we'd need to do it next year. That would still be within this fiscal year, so we would need to come up with funding if we chose to treat. And at $400 a tree for a 50-50 shot, that's something we really need to give a lot of thought to. You look confused. Troy said to us, it's about $400 to treat a tree, and there's a 50-50 shot that the tree will survive.
Why Were you suggesting that we treat these trees?
No,
No,
I'm
I wouldn't
suggesting the
that.
homeowner
Yeah,
gave us that as an option. If we were to consider that option at $400 a tree for a 50-50
Okay,
shot,
yeah.
we'd have to come up with money,
Yeah.
and then it's a 50-50 shot. So that's a big concern to me, that then we may still pay to treat it and then pay to remove it. So I'm not sure that's our smartest choice, and Troy saying no based on his information and the opinion of the arborist that he's been speaking with. So, you know, what we need to do is right now, there's still funds within the public works budget in his tree budget. We are still in hurricane season. I knocked on wood because I certainly hope that we don't have a storm. A year ago this week, we were in the middle of tropical storm Isaias, and that was significant tree damage during that storm. So let's hope that we can get through the season without that. That would add additional costs on our tree budget. Let's see what Troy can get done with the budget that he does have, and then potentially come back to us with a plan of trees, significant trees that still need to be removed. But I would encourage our residents to be aware of the trees on their property and consider their responsibility of having to remove trees within their own property that are damaged with this.
Hey, Erica,
Yes,
can
Melissa?
we do some, you know, for the benefit of those who have ash trees and may not be aware, is there a way that we can post pictures, various pictures and stuff on our Facebook pages and town websites and stuff, so that we're spreading the word, so that if somebody doesn't realize that they have an ash tree or in any kind of dangerous or tree in danger of falling in a bad spot.
So we'll put together some information on the Emerald Ash Borer and get that out as a public
Yeah,
notice.
I think that would be helpful, because I know I have some ash trees here. I don't know which exactly are the ones that are in danger. And, you know, I don't want anything from my property to fall into the road, nor do I want anything from my property to fall on my house. So I think that's a minimum we can do to help raise awareness on this issue.
And John or Liza, if at any time either of you would like a field trip with Troy, I'm sure he'd be happy to take you out to show you this issue and any others that we talk about. It's always good for a field trip. So it was enlightening to see it early in the spring when he and I just went out. All right, so we will keep having discussions on this particular item. All right, 9, old business, the assistant business manager treasurer discussion. So Donna can't be with us tonight. She is taking a well-deserved vacation. So she's out for the week. Donna made some adjustments to the position. I apologize. I left it here on the table for you, Liza. Try to get it out and scan it to you now. And I also have here for you, and Liza, I will send these to you, copies of the state statutes regarding town treasurers, municipal treasurers, as well as the job description that we have in the town. I will keep you, I will remind you that our job description is based on an elected official. So this is certainly what we would like, but it is an elected position. So there's no guarantee that number one on our list of qualifications is bachelor's in accounting or business from an accredited university. Certainly, that's always up for grabs with the individuals who are on the ballot for town treasurer. So we're not suggesting that the treasurer change its model from being an elected official. That will still stand, but the amount of work would be significantly less, so that it's completely separate and independent of a lot of the general ledger work done. So the job description and the statutes for the treasurer are there, and then in addition, you see some of the draft of the job description for the assistant business manager. And we made some slight tweaks in language, modifying it to the town of Willington for the most part. And have taken out the minimum qualification of a bachelor's degree specifically in accounting, and just change it to a bachelor's degree is preferred. And at least 2 years increasing responsibility, experience in municipal accounting or office accounting and operations. So again, this person would do all of the finance side to it, and the reconciling would then be on the treasurer, and any of those reports would be independent of actually putting the items into the general ledger. So the treasurer would have access to reconcile, but not to put entries in, which is the big difference between now and moving forward. I have sent this off to the town attorney. This would have to be approved by the union as well. And if you recall, Donna spoke with us about a salary structure, and you have some of those in front of you. They were in previous packets. So the one with 162,004, that is the proposed makeup of the finance office. So you have the business manager, a payroll coordinator, the account analyst, the proposed assistant, and then an elected treasurer with suggested dollars per hour. And so you can see the stipend of the elected treasurer would be significantly reduced from its current $32,039.02 to $5,339. They would really then end up not be doing a lot of the same work now. Questions, comments?
It's over, and it's going, like you said, it has to go to the lawyer and to the union. So
We're still on board with the concept. And Donna still believes that we have the dollars within our budget, our current budget, to be able to make that difference. And so there's a slight increase between the elected treasurer position and then having the two now. And so she still feels confident we have the dollars within our budget to do this. All right, Liza, I will scan these documents and get them out to you so you can take a look at them. Any other comments on new business? Old business? All right. That brings us to present to speak. Is there anyone in the room? Or looking at me with blank stare, or on the computer who would like to speak? If so, you can unmute yourself. I ask you to identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes. Is there anyone present to speak? You're quiet bunch out there, John. All right. As always, you can come in and visit us. Now we just ask you to wear a mask. Phone calls, emails to the selectmen's office. Brings us to good and welfare. I'm going to start with a bit of sad news. A member of the zoning board of appeals and a beloved member of our community passed away a couple of weeks ago. Jack Rupp served on the zoning board of appeals. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and he will be missed. We certainly thank him for his service to our town. In addition, all of the COVID information that I share with you and the data that I share can be found at portal.ct.gov/coronavirus. There will be a town meeting in person tomorrow at the Old Town Hall at 7 p.m. I know we have made the change to masks in public buildings. We will be understanding if folks don't see that notice and it was not in the public notice for the town meeting. So there will be some exceptions made in that case, for sure. Tax bills, I'm sorry, I hate to remind everyone, It's their least favorite subject for some. Tax bills are due today by end of business. So at 7:11, we close at 7:30. After anything received after today is subject to interest, is considered late and will be subject to interest. So contact the tax office if you have any questions. Mobile food share will be here at the town office building on Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 11:30. I ask you continue to support small businesses and restaurants in Wellington and our surrounding communities if you can. Wednesdays in the Park concert series is once again this Wednesday from 6:30 to 8:30. I'm sad that I have a meeting this Wednesday. We'll have to miss. There is a group called Flamingo that features our very own town treasurer, Lori Semperbaum. So I encourage you to go out and enjoy a nice night in the park with your friends and neighbors. Any other good and welfare? All right, I once again want to thank Cheryl Mitchell for filling in and doing our meeting minutes. You're welcome. Thank her. All right, with that, I would move to adjourn at 7:12 p.m.
Second.
Seconded by John. This is a non-debatable matter. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you. Have a good evening.